Can you hear the whisper coming from the Baobab tree? Don't listen to it. Run for your life. That is Baobab baby, and if you answer its call, you will be trapped forever. Baobab baby is a monster, but it was once a child, the child of a desperate village woman. This is the origin of Baobab baby. Whenever a child went missing in the village of Zimbara, it was always near the ancient Baobab tree. Whenever strange sounds were heard at night, it was always coming from the direction of the Baobab grove. That village was cursed. Well, not everyone in Zimbara believed in the curse. Amara was different. Amara was a believer. She never went near the Baobab trees after sunset. While others mocked the old warnings, Amara stayed home praying to the ancestors. This alone made many villagers angry. They felt she was too superstitious and acting too fearful, like she knew something they didn't. Well, Amara was the most devoted woman in the village. She was a widow who had lost her husband to a mysterious illness 5 years ago. After her husband died, the village chief, Chief Okonkwo, took pity on Amara. She was extremely hardworking, and the elders respected her deeply. Whenever the village needed someone to lead the harvest ceremony, Amara always represented Zimbara, and she never failed them. But Amara was not completely a good woman. She had a secret. Amara had a lover, the chief's nephew. His name was Kwame. Amara was 35 years old while Kwame was 28. Kwame was the nephew of the chief. He liked Amara from the day he returned to the village from the city. The harvest season came, and Amara stayed in the village to work the fields. Kwame seized every opportunity to see her. Kwame was done with his city job and had returned to the village to claim his inheritance. While waiting for the elders to approve his land claim, Kwame often came to the fields with his uncle, the chief. Amara and Kwame were in love, but they kept their relationship a secret. The problem was that Amara and Kwame were always meeting in hidden places, behind the old storage huts. While other women needed to sneak away to the neighboring village to meet men, Amara did not need to. She only needed to hide in a quiet corner to see Kwame. So while everybody praised Amara for being a devoted widow, she was not entirely that devoted. One night, emotions were high, and they did what they should not have done. They both agreed to keep it a secret. Kwame believed he truly loved Amara. 2 weeks after that special moment between Amara and Kwame, Kwame received news that his land claim was approved, and he would be moving to a farm far from the village center. The next day, he came to the fields and arranged to meet Amara behind the Baobab grove during the evening rest. While they met, Kwame told her the good news, but it was not such good news to Amara. She broke down and cried when she heard he was moving away. Kwame tried to calm her down. He told her he would visit her every market day and that nothing would change between them, and that he loved her so much. That night, emotions took over again, and they did the wrong thing once again. Soon after, Kwame moved to his new farm. Amara continued her normal village life. 2 weeks after Kwame left, Amara began to notice strange changes in her body. She started feeling dizzy in the mornings. She was always tired and began experiencing unusual cravings. At first, she did not think much of it until one day, the village healer, Mama Zuri, noticed Amara's condition and called her aside. She asked Amara to remove her head wrap and looked at her face properly. After observing her closely, the healer took Amara straight to her healing hut. After Mama Zuri performed some traditional tests, the truth came out. Amara was pregnant. The healer looked at her in shock and asked, "Amara, tell me the truth. Who is responsible?" Amara kept quiet. The healer asked again, "Amara, do you want to bring shame to your late husband's family? Who is responsible?" Amara still refused to talk. The healer reminded Amara that she was a widow, and the only reason the village respected her was because she lived honorably, and the fact that she's pregnant now could destroy her reputation. Amara still refused to answer. Left with no choice, the healer took Amara to the village chief. Immediately the chief heard that Amara was pregnant. He stopped his council meeting. He exclaimed, "Ah, if it was Nala, I would not be surprised. If it was Kendi, I wouldn't be surprised. But you?" The healer sat quietly as the chief questioned Amara, but Amara still refused to tell them who got her pregnant. Finally, the chief threatened to banish Amara from the village and seize her late husband's land. That was when Amara spoke. She said softly, "Kwame." The village chief frowned. "Which Kwame?" Amara replied. "Your nephew, Kwame." The chief was shocked. He never knew Kwame and Amara were involved. That was when it dawned on him that the reason Kwame liked visiting the fields was because of Amara. After a long silence, the chief spoke. "Amara, you want to trap my nephew? I showed you mercy after your husband died, and this is how you repay me. You want to ruin my family's honor. It won't happen. I will deal with this," the chief told Amara angrily. Then the chief turned to the healer and warned her that this pregnancy must be kept a secret. The healer was the chief's loyal servant, so she agreed immediately. The chief also reminded the healer that if she dares reveal the secret, then the entire village will know that the healer once poisoned a rival's child during a healing session. Amara was quickly removed from her home and taken to live in an abandoned hut near the Baobab grove. It was a cursed place that no one dared to visit. The villagers believed that the Baobab trees were home to trapped spirits. But that was where Amara was kept. Amara was separated from other villagers, but she was still allowed to fetch water at dawn before anyone else woke up. Despite all the efforts to keep the matter secret, rumors soon began to spread around the village. One day, Nala whispered to Kendi, "I heard Amara is pregnant." Kendi frowned. "That's not possible. Amara is a devoted widow." Nala scoffed. So you think holy women don't fall? Devoted widow. Okay, that woman is a pretender." Kendi became curious. "We need to confirm this," she said. So, one afternoon after the market, Nala and Kendi quietly followed Amara. They watched her walk towards the Baobab grove. They were surprised. "Where is she going?" they whispered to each other as they followed her quietly. Soon, they saw Amara walking to a small, broken hut hidden among the massive Baobab trees. Just as Amara was about to enter, they stopped her. "Amara, where are you going?" Amara turned around. The moment she saw them, she burst into tears. They were shocked. "Why are you crying? What happened?" they asked. Amara led them into the broken hut and told them everything. She told them how she got pregnant for the chief's nephew. She told them how the chief said his nephew could never be responsible. She told them how the chief and the healer forced her to stay in this cursed place among the Baobab trees. She also told them that once the pregnancy showed too much, she would no longer be allowed to fetch water. And finally, she told them that the chief had plans to take the baby away once she gave birth and give it to a distant family. As Amara spoke, they started crying with her. As the three women were talking and crying, the chief suddenly entered the hut and shouted at them. "What are you doing here?" he asked. He warned Nala and Kendi sternly. "If anybody hears about this matter, the entire village will hear about your involvement with the visiting traders." Nala and Kendi froze. They were shocked. How did he know about their secret dealings with the traders? They asked themselves. The chief laughed. "You are surprised. I know. I am the village chief. I know everything," he said. Fear gripped Nala and Kendi. They immediately agreed to keep quiet. The chief took them back to the village while Amara stayed in the cursed hut, still crying as usual. 7 months into the pregnancy, there was a drought, and Kwame came back to the main village to help with the emergency council. He was happy to return and eager to see Amara. But when he asked around, he did not find her. Not at her home, not at the fields. Amara was nowhere to be found. Confused, Kwame asked his uncle, "Uncle, where is Amara?" His uncle snapped at him. "I have been waiting for you to ask," he shouted. "So, you have been sleeping with that woman?" Kwame was shocked that his uncle knew. He and Amara agreed to keep it a secret. The chief, however, continued coldly. He told him that Amara had discovered she was pregnant and tried to abort the baby using forbidden herbs, and that was how she died. It was a lie, but Kwame believed. He was devastated. He truly loved Amara. He mourned her death for months. Meanwhile, Amara was alive, pregnant, and abandoned, living among the Baobab trees with Kwame's child. The chief had no pity for his unborn grandnephew. While Amara was living in the cursed grove, she made an unusual friend, an ancient spirit keeper. Everyone knew Baba Thulani was a spirit keeper.
He often came to the Baobab grove to communicate with the ancestors or to collect sacred bark for his ceremonies. When he noticed Amara was living among the Baobabs, he was surprised. He always wondered what a village woman was doing in the cursed place. But he tried to mind his business. He said to himself, I do my rituals, another person can do theirs. But little by little, he started speaking to Amara, and from time to time, he would check on Amara, but never asked her any question about what she was doing in the grove. Baba Thulani liked to mind his business, but he always brought food and water for Amara. One day he came and Amara was crying. He held her hand and asked what the problem was. Amara told Baba Thulani everything that happened to her. After listening, Baba Thulani shook his head. He told her that she had angered the ancestors by breaking the widow's sacred waiting period. Then Baba Thulani asked her, Do you want me to curse them for you? He said, It will only take one sacrifice to the Baobab spirits, and they would all suffer. Amara smiled sadly and replied, No, Baba, I really love Kwame, and I know he loves me too. On the other hand, the drought ended, and Kwame returned to his farm. By then, Amara was already 9 months pregnant, lonely and suffering among the baobab trees. The day finally came. It was time for the baby to be born. Amara went into labor alone. She screamed and screamed, but nobody came. The baobab trees seemed to lean closer, their massive trunks surrounding her like silent witnesses. Amara suffered alone in pain. She managed to crawl outside, hoping that someone would see her. When the chief eventually arrived with the healer, both Amara and the baby appeared lifeless. The chief smiled. He said coldly, Good. It is better you leave this earth. My nephew already believes you are dead, so it's better you actually die. Then he said to himself, I would have given this baby away to erase the shame. But it is still okay. You both should leave this world so I can rest, the chief added. The chief was cold and wicked. Unknown to him, Baba Thulani had come that same time to check on Amara, and he hid behind the largest baobab tree to make sure the chief did not see him. He heard everything the chief said. He was shocked that the chief was this wicked. Baba Thulani said to himself, I speak with spirits, but I am not wicked like this. While Baba Thulani was hiding, the chief left Amara and the baby and just walked away. As the chief walked away, Baba Thulani came out of his hiding place. He rushed to Amara and discovered that Amara was not dead. She was only extremely weak and needed help. The baby was also not dead, just very weak and barely breathing. Baba Thulani tried to take both of them away, but suddenly he heard footsteps and recognized the voice of the chief approaching. Quickly, Baba Thulani grabbed the baby and hid inside the hollow of the ancient baobab tree. When the chief returned with some young men from his compound, he searched around. He did not see the baby. He was shocked. He told the men that the baby was no longer there. The men were worried and uncomfortable, but they did not speak up. The chief did not care, though. As long as nobody could link the baby to him, then he did not care. In his mind, it was not the first time a woman had died in childbirth in the village, so Amara was no different. He instructed them to bury Amara. The men were hesitant, but as usual, they obeyed. The men buried Amara right there among the baobab trees, but Amara was not dead, so technically Amara was buried alive. Baba Thulani watched everything from inside the hollow tree. After they left, Baba Thulani took the baby to his shrine and tried to take care of it, but the baby did not get better. Every day, the baby grew weaker and weaker. The baby would not eat would not sleep, only stared with empty eyes. One morning, Baba Thulani woke up and discovered that the baby had stopped breathing. He was deeply pained. This innocent child had been condemned by the wickedness of others. In anger and grief, Baba Thulani made a decision. He took the baby's body and went to Amara's grave among the Baobab trees. He performed a forbidden ritual. He called on the spirit of Amara and reminded her that she had been buried alive. He called on the ancient Baobab spirits to witness the injustice. He asked them to fuse Amara's spirit with the baby's body and return them to the world to seek justice. Suddenly, a strong wind blew through the grove. The Baobab trees began to shake violently. Lightning struck the largest tree, and immediately the baby began to cry. But it was not a normal cry. It was a sound that seemed to come from the trees themselves. That was how Baobab baby was born. The condition for the ritual was clear. The baby would become half spirit and half tree. Immediately the ritual was completed. The baby's skin began to change, becoming rough and bark-like. The baby grew several inches taller and began to walk immediately. Its fingers elongated into root-like appendages. Its hair became wild and tangled like hanging vines. If you saw the creature, you would think it was a small twisted tree that had learned to walk. Baba Thulani had turned the baby into a monster. The only being the creature knew and understood was him and the Baobab trees. Baba Thulani then released Baobab baby into the grove to seek justice for itself and its mother. Baobab baby lived among the Baobab trees, and sometimes while passing near the grove, you would hear it whisper your name from within the trees and ask for help. Never answer, never help it, because Baobab baby doesn't want help. It wants to trap you inside the Baobab trees forever. The creature began tormenting the chief. At night, the chief would hear whispers coming from the direction of the Baobab grove, calling his name. Chief, chief, help me. But when he looked, he would see nothing but the silhouettes of the Baobab trees swaying in the wind. The healer, Mama Zuri, was not exempted. She also started hearing the whispers. One night, while preparing medicine in her hut, Mama Zuri heard a child's voice calling her name. The voice seemed to come from the wooden beams of her hut. She looked up and saw the wood beginning to crack and twist. She started screaming. The villagers rushed to her hut and found Mama Zuri staring at the ceiling, trembling. She kept saying, the trees know what we did." She started acting strangely, and the villagers were shocked. She would walk to the Baobab grove and stand there for hours, talking to the trees. The villagers called for help, and Mama Zuri was taken to a distant healer. The villagers were confused. Some of them had also heard whispers from the Baobab grove, but not as serious as Mama Zuri made it seem. From that day, villagers began calling the mysterious presence Baobab baby. But Baobab baby was not done yet. The chief was still free. Sometimes while walking through the village, especially at dusk, the chief would hear a child's laughter. Sometimes he would see a small figure standing among the Baobab trees, watching him. But nobody around him could see it. He knew something was wrong, but he did not understand it yet. He knew he should have searched for that baby. He was afraid for his life after knowing what happened to Mama Zuri. One evening, as the chief was returning from the fields, he saw it clearly, the Baobab baby standing among the trees, its bark-like skin, its root fingers reaching toward him. He screamed and asked the villagers around him, "Can you see it?" They replied, "No, chief." He shouted again, "Can you hear the whispers?" The villagers answered, "Yes, we can hear whispers from the grove, but we see nothing." The chief started shouting, I will confess. I will confess. In the presence of the elders, the young men, and several villagers, he told them everything that happened to Amara. He told them how Amara got pregnant for his nephew, how he locked her in the cursed hut among the baobab trees, how he left her and her baby to die. The chief was acting erratic, his eyes wild with terror. Then he started running toward the baobab grove. The villagers tried to stop him, but he was too fast. He ran into the grove, and they heard him screaming. When they found him the next morning, he was standing perfectly still among the baobab trees. His feet had taken root in the ground, his skin turning to bark. He had become part of the grove forever. Baobab Baby had successfully avenged its mother, but Baobab Baby was still a roaming monster, half spirit, half tree. Be careful the evil you do, because you can create a horror that will haunt the land long after you are gone. Amara had been avenged, but now Amara's spirit was fused with her baby, and together they had become a monster. The devoted woman was now a creature of the Baobab Grove. Baobab Baby continued to live among the trees, whispering to passers-by at night and trapping the wicked inside the ancient baobabs. 10 years passed. Baba Thulani, the spirit keeper, was now very old and about to leave the world. When he remembered Baobab Baby, he felt both pride and sorrow for what he had created. He decided to give it one final gift. He went to the Baobab Grove and summoned Baobab Baby. He gave it a small wooden calabash. He said, "This calabash contains the sap of the ancient baobabs. It holds great power. Anybody who can drink from this calabash and withstand living in the Baobab Grove for 7 days and 7 nights will receive the wisdom of the ancestors and become prosperous beyond measure. You are now a guardian of the grove, and you will test the worthy, but you must also punish the greedy and the wicked." But this was not truly a gift or a blessing, because anybody who takes the calabash and cannot withstand the whispers of Baobab Baby and the spirits of the grove for 7 days straight will either lose their mind or become part of the trees forever, trapped like the chief. So the big question is, who will be brave enough or foolish enough to accept Baobab Baby's calabash